This is Actualize Freedom, straight talk on growing clicks and conversions on Amazon FBA from people doing it every day. Now here's your host, digital marketing acrobat, Danny Kenji Carlson.
Okay guys, so this video has Ben Donovan. He is a UK-based Amazon seller that he is one of the more honest guys out there. There's a lot of gurus in the space right now who are just flaunting their Lamborghinis and just not really telling the truth about what's going on in the Amazon business. Ben Donovan is just a real down-to-earth guy. His YouTube channel is full of videos about him just giving the honest truth about what it's like to run an Amazon business. And he's a family man. He's got 2 kids, and he's managed to build his business to a pretty good point and have the freedom to be able to spend more time with his kids and work from home and all that kind of stuff. But he gives just a more honest picture of that. So let's dive into this episode with Ben Donovan. But first, just a quick note, Kenji ROI is the official sponsor of this podcast. That is my agency for Amazon pay-per-click and listing optimization. So if you're a company that spends more than $5,000 a month in ad spend, then maybe Kenji ROI can help you kick some ass in your Amazon ads. Or if you need product photography, ableist content, video, any of that jazz, you know where to reach out to, kenjiroi.com. So let's get into it, guys. What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here, and it is a rainy Bali morning, and I am soaked from a torrential rain riding my motorcycle into work this morning through massive puddles, but that was exciting for sure. And we are joined over here with Ben Donovan in rainy old England. So maybe the rain has sent from England. Damn you, Ben. But this is going to be a really interesting one on brand building. And Ben has a really interesting point of view on brand building and why you should build a brand, but also what are the nuts and bolts of how do you go about building a brand? Because I think everyone's heard that advice before, but like, how do you actually actionably take action on that advice of building a brand? So let's just start off there, Ben. Like, why do you think people should worry about building a brand in the first place instead of just building a store with 25 different random products?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question I get all the time because I think there's a lot of people out there that just say, you don't need to build a brand. You just sell products on Amazon, you make your money, and then, you're off to the races. And I think that's one way you can do it, right? You can certainly do that. If your goal is making money, then great. That's one way to do it. But I think there's so many more reasons to build a brand. I think purely from the financial aspect, I think building a brand is much more of an opportunity on Amazon or any other platform today because you can add so much more value with a cohesive brand that appeals to a wider audience of buyers, because you can build a brand asset that you can one day sell. And just for the monetary reasons, there's so many reasons, but I also love the aspect that you can actually make an impact, and I think I heard it said recently that building a business is like driving a car, and money is like the fuel. You shouldn't start a business to, just for the money. The money actually helps you go where you want to go, but, there's a destination in mind when you build a business. And I think, there's a lot of people out there with the rise of entrepreneurialism that think that business is just about making money. And that's exciting for so long and up to a certain point. But then you get to a point when you realize, hey, there's only so much money that can make me happy. And there's something more beyond that. And it's being able to make an impact in people's lives, being able to improve people's lives. And I just don't think you can do that so much with a random, set of products. But actually, when you build a brand, you build a tribe, you have some goals of how you want to help a certain group of people achieve more in their life. I think there's something, really fulfilling about that. So I think, I think for a whole bunch of reasons, there's so much opportunity to do way more than just sell random products on Amazon. Yeah.
Well, I love what you're saying about money just being fuel, because if you make a ton of money, so one person's going to just do a lot of things that will fulfill their life with that money, and another person's going to go spend it all on cocaine and a bunch of stuff that is just going to ruin their life and make them absolutely miserable. So really good to just remind people of that it's not really all about money, and fulfillment is part of it too. So do you have a specific framework that you have for people that, okay, it's like, I'm sold, I want to make a brand, but how do I go about doing it? Where am I going to start? Like, where do I come up with the idea? How do I put the things in place that actually make this into a brand instead of just some widget company? What do you recommend for people?
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's, I think it's really, four key steps that you need to sort of take, when you're building a brand. When I'm sort of teaching people how to do it, I always I try and get them to start with the same letter, because I don't know about anybody else, but I always find that memorable. But yeah, so the first thing, of course, is you've got to select. You need to find good opportunities. You need to find a market. You need to find a tribe of people. You need to find a set of products that are gonna, make a difference in the world. That are gonna, you need to find a market that you feel like you could actually improve upon. And I think, with this rise of everybody and their, having their 2 cents about how to sell on Amazon, and, everyone's got a YouTube channel these days, and everyone seems to be an expert at stuff. And so, people are out there just trying to copy and paste products off of Alibaba onto Amazon and wondering why it's not working. And I think you need to look a bit deeper than that and select not just one product that's working, but actually an opportunity to come into a market. So I think, first and foremost, you need to select right. And then, of course, you need to source right. You need to, like I said, not just take something off the shelves of a supplier, but actually think, how can I build a brand around a product? And that involves improving the product, creating something unique, not just thinking singular product, but what can I do with with this product to actually provide a real solution to people. And so, I think, sourcing is really important, because you want to be a brand that's well known for quality. My personal goal, is I want to own a brand that I'm proud to represent. I don't want just this to be, when someone asks me, what do I do? Oh, I just have some little side hustle on Amazon that just makes me money. No, this is my brand, and this is what I'm, proud to represent. I own this. I'm proud of this. And if people, know what my brand is, then they know it's, good quality products, and, it's something that I can be proud of. And so, that would be the second thing. And then the third thing, of course.
And guys, if you want a really great episode about product sourcing and product differentiation, there's a really great episode with Zach Leonard. So make sure you check that out. I think it's 3 or 4 episodes ago. Zach Leonard from Gambit just goes really into that. So that'd be a really good deep dive for that. So sorry to interrupt you there. What was step number 4?
That's cool, man. No, I'll check that out myself for sure. If you want to build a brand, you do need to learn how to sell. You can't just think, oh, I'm just going to make an impact on the world and everybody will buy my product because I've got that mentality. No, like I said, the money is like the fuel in the car. It's not that you don't want the money. Of course, the money is essential to taking the car where it needs to go. A car with no fuel is going nowhere, just like a brand with no money is going nowhere. So you need to learn how to sell. But I think, again, there's a lot of people would say, well, just sell on Amazon. But I think, the times are changing and there's so much opportunity both on and off Amazon that you do need to diversify a bit, I believe. And, rather than just be in one place, if you're going to build a real cohesive brand that's got value in it that you can sell one day, you do need to have this idea of being a bit more omnipresent, being on several platforms. And so, you need to learn how to sell on multiple platforms. And then, the fourth thing that a lot of people really don't, you learn to, once you've selected, sourced, and sold, it becomes very reliant on your time to keep producing those results. But if you're going to build a real business, as Danny, you need to build systems, you need to build team, you need to build processes, and so if you don't do that, you're never going to build the kind of brand that you potentially could do, because there's only so many hours in the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could be that little mom and pop brand. That is some people's brand. It's like, I am the homemade bee honey lady who makes a small amount of jars, and that's great. That's a great brand, but there's the problem with that brand is that you are now stuck in the business and you cannot possibly produce more because you are the sole person doing everything in that business. Very, very good point there. Maybe do you have any good examples of brands that you just really think have it nailed, that just have this whole branding thing figured out and are a good example? Because I know branding is something that for a lot of people, it's very confusing, like what the word branding even really means, and like what is a brand versus like just something you see on the grocery store shelves that you don't really care. It's just like, I'm just buying tomato sauce and it has a brand name on it, but I don't care about the brand at all. So like, do you have any examples for us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's loads of examples. There's like, there's obviously cheaper headphones to buy than Apple's AirPods, but I think they did like $6 billion in revenue last year just on AirPods. There's better looking cars than some of the cars that people pay crazy money for, but people pay them those prices because of the brand that's been built. But when it comes to like Amazon, the one that I often come back to and use as an illustration is the brand ANKER. I'm sure you've probably heard of them, but ANKER is an electronics brand, ANKER. and they're a private label startup. They started up from nothing. They started selling on Amazon, and now they're everywhere. They're not just on Amazon, but they do. I think last year
They're 9-figure now, I
they what?
believe.
Sorry.
I believe they're a 9-figure
Yeah,
company
I was
now.
going to say, I think they did like 500 million last year. So, or 2018, I think that maybe would have been, or on track to do that in 2019, maybe I read. But yeah, massive, massive figures. And I personally, I've got loads of things from Anchor. I didn't know they're a private label startup when I bought their first product, but I went back to them because their branding was consistent, their product was good quality, and and I just think that they're a great example for anyone to study and look at and think, this is how a real brand is built, based on good quality products, clear, cohesive brand messaging. And it's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, that's a great example too. Like you can find they have dozens and dozens of products like power banks and different electronic products. Take a look at their listings. They have immaculate product photography that is very consistent. They use a lot of like graphic rendering, so like all their products, they look like really perfect, and the lighting is all perfect, and the graphic design elements that are on there are using the same fonts. It looks very clean and concise. And they are only launching products of higher quality. They don't go to the lower end of the market and it's like, let's find the cheapest widget with, the highest profit margin. They're going straight to the higher end. It's like, let's make the fancy power bank that looks a little bit cooler than everyone else's, and it has, 10,000 mAh, or I don't know, that's probably old and outdated these days. But like that's their brand, right? People rely on them as the premium quality for a decent price brand in electronics.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people are in this race to the bottom because everybody's been taught, like, just take something from Alibaba, sell it on Amazon, you'll be a millionaire overnight. But there's this race to the bottom on price because nobody's differentiating. I say nobody, of course I'm exaggerating there, but the majority of people aren't creating value in their product. They're just doing what everyone else is doing. And that's why they're facing the struggle they are.
And so for you, I'm curious, Ben, if there's a process that you go through when you're really crafting the brand, like is there some kind of brand messaging or brand customer avatar, or like do you have any processes that you go through to really form what is that brand and like really identify who the person that you're helping is and who you're speaking to?
Yeah, I think those things that you mentioned definitely at the onset of the brand is you do want to create that customer avatar. Who are you trying to reach? And I think visualize not just the not just the person, but what is the impact that you think your products can make? Because I think again another aspect of building a brand and having that clear messaging is not just talking about the features of your product, but as you would know, Danny, it's like the benefits that those features bring. And I think that's not just a per product thing. It's actually what, as a brand, not what is the feature of our brand, but what the benefit using our products is going to bring. Because I think when you put rubber to the road, it becomes a lot more real than just, Johnny in his office drinking our coffee cup. It's actually, you personalize it by building a lot more around that. So I think, that's the thing that I always recommend people at the very onset is, build out the benefits of your brand from day one.
Oh, absolutely. And you also mentioned you are a big proponent of building brands, but also a lifestyle that you love, because what's the point of building a brand if you really hate your lifestyle from day to day and you're working 12-hour days nonstop and you're hating every second of it, right? So like how do you find that balance of building your brand and working hard and creating something from nothing and enjoying your life and just building that around a lifestyle you actually enjoy? What's up, guys? I just wanted to take a second and tell you about a good friend of mine's podcast. His name is Quinn Emmeram, and he is also a Canadian Amazon seller. He's been in the e-commerce game for many years, probably before a lot of you even knew what the word e-commerce means, and he has a really great podcast. It's called the Q8 Selling Online Podcast, and I recommend this one if you're looking for more great resources like the Actualize Freedom podcast to learn about selling on Amazon, e-commerce, and just ways of making that work better. Definitely check out Quinn's podcast. So that is QA Selling Online. He's been a guest on this podcast. I think he's around episode 65 or so. So definitely go check that out and check out Quinn's podcast as well.
Yeah, I mean the $1 million question, literally. It's hard work, no doubt about it. It's not something You're not going to live the 4-hour work week overnight. One of the best books I've ever read is The E-Myth, revisited by Michael Gerber, and he talks about it. If you're working 60, 80 hours a week on your business, more in your business, then you haven't got a business, you've got a job, and you've got the worst boss in the world, and it's so true. It's because, again, the rise of entrepreneurialism, which is a good thing, but there's so many people flooding into it thinking that it's this new, sexy, attractive, live this great lifestyle, not realizing that in order to get there, you have to build systems, you have to build processes, you have to build structures. And so those are the keys that you need to build upon. And it takes time, because, you need to start out with some stuff that's easy to hand off to another person, build out the structures, build out the systems, hand it off to someone else, so that you've got more time to focus on other things. And then, it's this kind of snowball effect that over time, as you do that, you can build up that freedom. But yeah, that's my big thing, is I try and sort of, encourage people to avoid working so much on the business themselves that they don't actually begin to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Because, as you know, Danny, we've only got so much time on the planet. And for me, the money is just a side thing. What's more important than money is time, because money, you can always make more money, but you've only got so much time. And so if you spend all your time building your business, then what's been the point of all of this? So yeah, for me, it's more about that time freedom than it is just about to be able to have the latest iPhone, the latest car, the latest house, or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'd all love to be Sam Ovens, who he tells everyone that he would rather be doing nothing else than sitting there working 12 hours a day on his business every single day. And that's literally what gives him joy in his life, and that's why he does it. And, he's been very successful because of that. But for those of us who that is not our passion in life, is working on our business, I think it's very important to think about things like, is the business that you're building going to support what you want to do in your life? So for me personally, I live here in Bali. I've been here for the past year. And specifically, I built my business in a way where that was a possibility, and I did not have to be tied down to a specific location. If you're an Amazon seller, that's probably going to be the case for you as well. And also, I like to go to the gym for 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the day instead of in the morning or in the evening. And I couldn't do that back when I was a carpenter, right? But building my business in a way where I'm the boss, I can go take 3 hours in the middle of the day to go to the gym and do some acro yoga and go in the sauna and the ice bath and all that stuff and come back to work again refreshed, is really important to me. So I think it's very important when you're crafting that brand vision, when you're crafting the vision for your business, that you identify the things that are just non-negotiables in your life. Like, how do I craft this business to support my life instead of the other way around?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's the same for me, man. Like I wish I could spend 3 hours in the gym, but I've got 2 young kids, so they dominate more of my time. But yeah, it's different people have different things, and for me, the ability to every day when my kids come home from school, shut down the computer, I'll go down and hang out with them, and it's the best thing ever. The time goes so quickly. My oldest son, he's 8 years old now, and it's like he's halfway to leaving home for university, and that time runs out quickly. So having that freedom for me is everything, and way more important than the money, which is like a side benefit,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I mean, you have kids to juggle as well, and you have kids and a business. That is the situation for a lot of people who are listening to this. Are there any things that you do personally in your life to do that balancing act? Like, how do you navigate that, being someone who is ambitious and wants to grow as an entrepreneur and grow in business, and also have time for your family and fatherhood and everything like that? Like, how do you navigate that kind of conflict for your time?
Yeah, I think it is difficult, and I'd be lying if I said I always got it right and I always found that balance. It's something I'm always striving to do better at. I think the biggest thing is just trying to create healthy boundaries. I always try and take 2 clear days off at the weekend, so Saturdays and Sundays. I very rarely will speak. You'll very rarely hear from me if you try and contact me Saturdays and Sundays. And then I'll always take my kids to like after school stuff, like football, swimming, all that kind of stuff. I'll always take them. I do my best to, I've got an office in our house. And so I will always sort of shut the door on that office at the end of the day. And I try to, rather than take my laptop around the house or whatever, which I could do, I try and shut it away in the office so that when I'm with the kids, it's 100% focus. I think, that's, just something I'm working on.
Yeah, I mean, it is really the magical question. And I don't think anyone really has it completely figured out. The way I do it, luckily, I don't have kids, so that makes things a lot easier, but I am just very ruthless with what I allow into my life. So my priorities in life are, my business and acro yoga and my girlfriend. And those are pretty much the 3 priorities. And anything outside of that just really gets pushed aside a lot of the time. Like recently, I have one friend who he's been constantly trying to hang out, like go out for lunch or like do some cool stuff. And he's kind of offended that I keep flaking on him and I keep pushing it away. And like, I just had to be a little bit direct with him. Like, hey man, like it's not because I don't like you. Like these are my priorities in my life. And like, I barely have enough time to hang out with my girlfriend a few times a week and time for that. So like, these are just my priorities, and I have to be ruthless of anything outside of those 3 things, really.
For sure, yeah. Like, someone once said, every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So you got to be real, ruthless. Like you say, it's a good word, ruthless.
Got to be ruthless in business, in life, in everything.
Absolutely.
By Ben Donovan.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Ben. Well, this has been a really insightful conversation. If people want to reach out to you or learn more about what you do online, where's the best place for them to do so?
Just like usual places, I suppose. YouTube, just Ben Donovan. I've got a website, which is just bendonovan.co.uk. And social media, Instagram, Ben Donovan. I'm in all those places.
Excellent. And guys, if you want any of the links or resources mentioned in this episode, you can check it out at actualizefreedom.com, all the show notes there. And if you haven't already, go leave us a review on iTunes, on Stitcher. It is very tricky to get reviews because there's no real good one on Android. So I've set up, let me just pull up the URL just to make it real easy for you guys. The URL, if you type in ratethispodcast.com/free, ratethispodcast.com/free, then it will just open up something on your phone and automatically tell you which app. It'll just open up the app and leave a review for it on there. So if you guys do that, I love you. If you don't do it, then I'm probably going to cry myself to sleep, but you guys know that already. So until next time, guys, kick some ass, and I'll see you again.
For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, visit kenjiroi.com.